We created a human without lungs. What he said still haunts me. We all know that air is essential to life. We know that without it, every form of life would just die. That was and still is widely accepted truth, when in reality, all we know is a lie. Recently, some notes were found in a mental illness hospital. They were quickly disregarded as being nothing more than scribbles of an old madman. No one gave them any importance except the leader of our research team, who was also our benefactor. He took an interest in those papers, which is certainly strange if you ask me. Apparently during the reign of Hitler in the Second World War, Professor German Royce conducted some studies on oxygen. He came to the conclusion that air is in fact not essential to life, and that it is harmful to humans. Even more, it is a drug that alters our perception of the real world. He was of course accused of being crazy and was pretty much locked into that hospital for mental illnesses. We are not a huge research team and are very united, but still no one could question the decision of our leader, Mr. Jovanovich. It's like he was unmovable and set on further researching German Royce's project. Mr. Jovanovich is by far the smartest person I know, and to be honest, might be the smartest person in Germany. To think he would be so intrigued by such foolishness. The next 6 months were uneventful, but we made a lot of progress. While I was still skeptical, the discoveries of Weber from more than 50 years ago started to feel not so alien and foolish. Mr. Jovanovich told me he wanted to discuss certain matters in private. Out of all the scientists working in his team, he trusted me the most? After all, he was my mentor. What is it, Mr. Jovanovich? Oh, call me Flynn, would you? You are not a student anymore, he replied, laughing. In a month's time, we are ready to test our work. Until now, on a human, he continued. Hearing this made me feel uneasy, but also a bit excited, as much as I hate to admit it. Okay, what would the procedure be, Mr. Flynn? It's nothing complicated. We just need to remove the lungs, mouth, and nose of our test subject. Hearing this filled me with dread. A brief thought of giving up crossed my mind, but I quickly disregarded it. I had too much respect for Mr. Jovanovich, and again, I was curious myself. I wanted to see if we were foolish to trust the files of that German guy from over 50 years ago. Oh, and also, as you know, the nerve in the brain that is responsible for instinctual breathing must also be removed, continued Mr. Jovanovich. I nodded, and the conversation ended there. I went home that night and stayed up all night, thinking if we were on the verge of discovering something great, or meet with failure and waste a human life. The next few weeks went by, and now we had our first patient. Apparently, he was a poor volunteer from Central Africa. He knew what he was getting himself into and demanded that the 1.5 million euros to be given to his wife and 7 children back in Africa. Our team agreed, and the removal surgery started. I can say it went smooth as butter. We successfully removed the lungs, mouth, and nose, as well as that nerve from the brain, and the vital signs of that man were regular. We gave him some time to rest and woke him up the next morning. This was the big moment. He slowly opened his eyes. He then looked at me and the rest of the team beside his bed. His eyes widened and he bolted out of the bed. He then looked at a nearby mirror and tears began to form in his eyes. He grabbed some nearby scissors and stabbed himself in the neck more than a dozen times. Blood covered the entire room and everyone was in shock. I gagged and almost started crying, unlike Angela, who was already crying intensively. Mr. Jovanovich called an emergency meeting immediately and ordered the disposal of that corpse. A long silence was filling the room. Before long, Mr. Jovanovich decided to break the silence. Okay, what the hell was that? Could he have gotten scared of his image in the mirror? Unlikely. He knew what he was signed up for. He is dead. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone was violently changing opinions before Jovanovich hit the table with his clenched fist. Enough! We've got here through hard work. We can't let a single dead body ruin everything. He's right, I answered softly. There's no progress without sacrifice. So I propose we find another volunteer. Yes, that's what we are going to do. If anyone disagrees, raise your hand, said Mr. Jovanovich. Again, silence. Nobody seemed to disagree. After all, who would want to spend 6 months on something without seeing the fruits of their work? It's been 2 months now, and another volunteer was found. This time, a young man from Spain named Andreas showed up to our doorstep, so to speak. Mr. Jovanovich told me to inform him on all the details. We also decided to not remove the nose and mouth of our patient this time, in order to question him. So, Andreas, right? I believe you already know what the surgery is about. Yeah, about removing both of my lungs, he answered with an incredibly relaxed voice. Okay, I see you're not scared at all. That's good. And yes, you're correct. We are going to remove your lungs. You have nothing to worry about, as our previous attempt was a success. Yeah, whatever you say. However, if I do not survive this, I want the payment for my service to be donated to the San Josinero orphanage. I grew there, you see. I understand. The surgery will take place in 4 days' time, after we run some examinations. He nods. I go to search for Mr. Jovanovich and inform him of the situation. He seems to be in a good mood and excited to see the results. Same as me, I suppose. Andreas was a healthy young man, as the test suggested, so we wasted no time in getting to work. The whole surgery took us around 4 hours, and after we were finished, Andreas was displaying normal vital signs. Next morning, we decided to wake him up. He slowly opened his eyes. Then suddenly his eyes widened. He recoiled back in shock and stood up in his bed. What? Get away from me, you demons! Where am I? Easy, calm down, I said, trying to calm him down. Your voice, the same as the scientist from before. But you're not him. At this point, I was completely lost, and by judging the looks on the faces of my colleagues, so were they. Mr. Jovanovich motions towards Andres, then 2 security guards restrain him. You are Andres, remember? You volunteered to have your lungs removed. Bloody hell, I know this, but where are the scientists? Have you killed them, you monsters? Andres responded in pure terror. What are you talking about, boy? I am Flynn Jovanovich, and this is my team. You are not humans. What have you done to them? Not humans. At this point, I'm getting a little scared with what he was trying to say by that. What are you saying? You are not them. You look evil, like something straight from hell. Air influences our perception of reality. That thought comes in mind, and I instantly realize what was going on. I go and bring a mirror in Andres' room. Looking at the mirror, Andres. He then looks at his reflection, and his eyes once again widen. No, I'm too. Like this. Tears run down his cheeks. Okay, calm down, Andres. You recognize me, right? We spoke when you got here, remember? Your voice. Yeah, I remember. Okay. Do you have difficulties breathing? No. But what is this? Just tell me what the hell this is. Okay, calm down and explain. We look different. Like demons from old paintings. Demons? Does this facility look any different? No, it's the same, I think. Okay, release him. The guards hesitate, but Jovanovich nods, and they release Andreas. "Come here by the window," I say. Andreas staggers to the window. "Now look outside. Is there something different?" Andreas sticks his head out the window, looks outside for a bit, then turns to me. He had a look of pure terror on his face. The sky is burning. There's also a crimson pentagram etched into the sun. Air is a drug that alters our perception of reality, except for someone without lungs.